When I was, well, in homelessness, I feel like people don't really understand that there are multiple people that are homeless. Like, just like when you go and you have like rich people, there's different types of rich. There's millionaires, there's billionaires, there's trillionaires, there's old money, there's new money, and then in middle class, there's people that buy name brands, and then there's people that don't buy name brands. There's people that shop at Home Goods. There's people that shop at Aldi's. There's people that shop at Air One. You know, and even when we were homeless in like Florida, a lot of and homeless here in Georgia, like people don't understand that there's also people that are homeless that are different types of homeless. And we weren't street homeless. We lived in a car. So we didn't have to deal with weather the same way as people that lived on the sidewalk. We had a physical covering, which was the car, and people didn't get that. I don't know what it's like to live in a sidewalk. I don't know what it's like to live under a bridge. I know what it's like to live in a car, but that was not my experience. And a lot of people just think that, oh, you're homeless, you have no money, you have no food, you have nothing. But it's like, no, I just didn't have a house or an apartment, and I couldn't afford one. And that was kind of frustrating. Um, as well as people couldn't believe that we weren't on food stamps and that I didn't want to be on food stamps. People didn't understand that I wasn't on disability. I did not get help from the government to help me. And when I told people I didn't want to do that, they were annoyed with me, or they treated me like I was trying to say that there was something wrong with them for being on it when I was homeless and not receiving those things. But personally, I just didn't want to do it because when you are on food stamps, you can't make a certain amount of money. And there's qualifications that I really didn't want to deal with. I just wanted to work and try to make my life better, really. And yeah, people didn't get that. And it was very frustrating. So, this is just a video about some of the things that I noticed while being homeless. And a lot of times I didn't tell people I was homeless. I believe I told one person one time because I had a panic attack, and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I told her I was homeless. I was like, "I'm living in my car." And she didn't treat me differently. She actually was still kind to me. She didn't tell anybody. This was at a job I had, and I think that's the only. Oh, and I told the boss one time, like my boss when I was working there. And she actually helped me. She like allowed me to cook my food at work. And the crazy thing is people knew that she helped me, but they didn't know why she was helping me, and they started being mean to me and like isolating me, which is whatever. Like people do that. Like people think that like they never know why people like you, and it's like they get jealous or something, and it's like she's literally helping me because I don't have a way to cook my food. And at that time I was getting frozen food from my food pantry, and we were grilling our food in public parks and like keeping it in bags or just eating it so that it wouldn't go to waste. And then like the other stuff that we had, we donated to charity. So as much as people thought, like, I don't know what people thought, but it's crazy because it's like I was homeless doing all of my jobs, and I had people Like even when we moved here, this lady, I was talking about how I have to eat like vegan food, and but it's literally because I have food allergies. So like it's really easier for me to eat vegan food than to eat like fast food cuz I can't eat fast food cuz it has bread, it has dairy. I can't eat that. So, well, I can't eat like certain grains, but she was like, "Well, me and my family, we eat this because that's what we can afford." And I'm like, "I'm eating vegan food because I can't eat regular food. And I'm living in my car. Like, why do you have an attitude? You don't even know what I deal with." Like, being homeless really like allows you to see how people take stuff for granted and how people really have no idea what you're going through, and they will have like every excuse to not do stuff because they think they have like a hard life. Like, not saying that they don't, but it's like you don't know what other people are going through. Like, I remember my coworker was talking about how she didn't have air conditioning in her car, and that's why she was late, and that's why she was suffering so bad. And I'm like, you could just buy a Slurpee. Just buy a Slurpee. Like, and then I was thinking, like, I'm literally sleeping in my car, and I'm trying to figure out a way how to crack the window open because it's so hot that if you leave the windows up, you can't, there's no circulating air, and you can't leave the car on to keep the car cold because then your battery could die, and then you have to pay for a new car battery, and then you can't drive around. And then if you get a Slurpee, your Slurpee's gonna melt in the middle of the night because I'll sleep in the car. And then, like, my point is, I'm sleeping in a car, and my concern was I need to find a way to crack my window so people also don't break in the car. And you're talking about your car doesn't have air conditioning, and we both work at the same company, and like my perspective and your perspective are very different things. And I I didn't make excuses. I never told anybody that I lived in my car. Like, nobody honestly would care. And most of the time people didn't care if I did tell them. It like they would get uncomfortable for me and then make my living in my car like their situation. Like, it had absolutely nothing to do with anybody, but people always made it about them. Like, if they saw us, like, I remember I was talking to this older lady, right? I was talking to her about, actually, no, she was talking to me about how many homeless people were in the library. And she was like, they're very kind and they don't bother people and they're just sleeping. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. And then she said something about homeless people, and I was like, I'm homeless. Um, I was like, I live in my car. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just here because I want free air conditioning to charge my phone and my battery and to read books." But it the the conversation with her and the relationship that developed with her it ended up being about her and her racism and her family. It had nothing to do about me being homeless. It had everything to do with her making a friendship with me to feel better about her being racist and about, like, just feeling better for trying to help me or give me food. Like, it's just people make stuff about them. Like, them helping you is not about, it was never about like helping us to help us. Like, a lot of people made it about them, and they like come to you and say, "Oh, I hear what you're going through. I'm very upset about that. Oh, you need to live in a hotel. Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. But they don't actually. And then I also met a guy that worked at like a food pantry, and he literally told me about prostitution to tell me that he didn't judge people that prostituted. Like, okay, I'm not going to prostitute. Like, people just made it stuff about them. They made our situation about them and tried to help them based off of them, but never about based off of where we were. And that was really frustrating. And then some of the stuff that we had to deal with was, when it was really hot, because we lived in Florida and we were living in like we were in Orlando, Altamont, Winter Park, and we worked. The height of us working, between us, we worked 7 jobs. There was a time, well, I would keep 2 jobs and usually have a third one that I would rotate to if like my jobs were having like personality issues or like sketchy issues where your boss is harassing you, people trying to fight you, stuff like that. Like I was dealing with stuff like that. And sometimes the men also would be harassing me, and like I remember this guy realized I was homeless and was trying to use that as a way to get close to me, and he would be it's like the more I would be like, I don't like you, I'm not attracted to you, I'm in a secure relationship, the more he was like, let me help you, I want to love you. And I was like, no. And that that affected my work situation, and he started turning people against me. So, obviously I need a job, or um I can't help pay for the car, so I gotta get no job. So I usually had about 3 jobs, and there was a part of being homeless where I had 7 jobs, and I still could not afford to live in an apartment or a house or even pay for a hotel. And but yeah, in terms of weather, it was it was hot. Like it's like every year it got hotter, and like the last year we were there in Florida was so hot. Like it was unbearably hot. And I could not deal with it. I was like, Lord, it's hot, Jesus. You need to give me something. Please just help me. Like we couldn't isn't like and then people also don't understand that it doesn't make sense to pay for a hotel when for like a couple days when you eventually gotta go back to a car. Like it don't financially it doesn't make sense. And then like emotionally that can be really hard too, because you're in a place that has a bathroom and a shower, and then you gotta go right back into a car that's hot. It don't have a shower, it don't have a bath, it don't have nothing. It's just a car. And yeah, so like the weather, escaping the weather was hard. The best time was when it was cold, and the worst time was when it was hot. And there's also a thing of when you sleep in a car, there's no installation. So if it's colder at night, you are still cold during the day, even though even though it's still hot during the day. It'd be a little hot during night too, but it sometimes will be cold. So I'd be wearing long sleeves during a hot day because I'm still cold from being in a cold car at night. And then sometimes it was so hot at night that it's like you want to leave the window crack, but you also don't want to get robbed, and you don't want somebody to stick their little fingers in your window. That's a story too. But another thing is that changing clothes. Yeah, changing clothes was a little difficult because you're in a car You can't just be like, let me put on another outfit. And then if you have another job, you may have to switch your work clothes in between in the middle of the day to go to your next job. So for me personally, I wore a layer of clothes under my clothes so that I could switch outfits in the middle of the day and I wouldn't be inappropriate. So that helped me, but you know, if you would do, you might have to go to the bathroom and change your clothes. There's been times I have went to the bathroom and changed my clothes and then left out and just went to like another job or another place, whatever. And then sickness. So you got to think about it. You're in a car, and I had food poisoning 4 times when I was homeless. And oh my goodness, the last time I had food poisoning was so bad. I thought I was gonna die. It was bad. And then, so also think of this. I did not, I didn't drive, and I didn't have a driver's license. So if I have food poisoning, but my husband needs to go to work, he can't go to work because I'm sick. Because if I have to be in the car all day while he's at work, and I have food poisoning, he can't go to work. And then like when I had COVID, I couldn't work then. We got pulled over one time while I had COVID, and we had to like put a letter on the note and be like he pulled us over, and I put on my phone, we have COVID, and we just put it to the window, and he just was like, just let us go. But sickness really did affect like job stuff, and it affected where we could be. Because if when I had food poisoning, I had to be near a bathroom, and then jobs don't really care if you're sick. So a lot of times, if I'm sick 1 or 2 days, they don't care. They want an employee there, and I got fired a lot for being sick. I Oh yeah, and then yeah, well, even when I had COVID, I had 2 jobs at that time. I lost both of my jobs for having COVID, and I only had COVID for maybe 5 days and lost my job. But at the same time, I constantly still, you know, it wasn't hard to get jobs. The hard part was staying at jobs. And yeah. A lot of times when I stuck up for myself, that's when people like punish you at jobs and just want to fire you. So I dealt with that for a very long time. As and then I don't think people understand that when you're homeless, that you know, when you go to your house, you you can go to your room and you can have your space, but when you live in a car, your space is your front seat and your back seat, and that's it. You don't have nowhere to walk to. If you want like space that's not your car, your space is the park, or your space is like an empty lot. You can't walk around in your car and go sit in your room. So that was a adjustment for me. And then I personally was already so afraid of the world and so afraid of doing something wrong that I was very apprehensive to take chances to go places. And especially the first probably 2 years, I was very anxious, and I had a anxious attachment style, and it was very toxic, and it was not okay, and it was very hard to get out of that. But thank God that has changed. Because even me is seeing that as the person I was and the people I was through DID, it was bad. It was very, it was very toxic. And I would not have wanted to be with me as that person or even be around that person because they struggled a lot. But yeah, those are some of the homeless things that I dealt with, and those are the ones that I mainly remember that were like a huge issue for me. That was a large adjustment. And if I remember more, I'll say it, but that's all I can remember right now. So, God bless you, God keep you, and have a good day.